everyone, welcome back to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. In today's video I'm going to be talking about 5 authors who I want to read all of their books. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name's Alice and I have way too many books, and in among those way too many books are some books by authors who I have pretty much decided I would like to read everything they have written. Now in one case this is going to prove a lot more tricky than the others, I think, but I thought that I would talk to you today about these 5 authors, why I've decided to read everything by them, and how I'm getting on with that so far. So I'm going to talk about these authors in pretty much, I think, chronological order from who was writing earliest. And we start with a classics author from the Victorian times, which is of course Mr. Charles Dickens. I haven't always wanted to read all of Dickens. I think that this one is definitely a very long-term goal. It takes me quite a long time to read a book by Dickens, and the quickest I think I've ever managed one was probably David Copperfield, which I think took me about a month, although it's a close thing between that and Great Expectations. So these are definitely books that I like to savour. What I really like about Dickens is his fantastic characters, and some of the books of his that I've read certainly have a lot of them. I really do like his writing, and I would love to one day have read all of his books. Now what does that entail? That is 15 novels, including the unfinished The Mystery of Edwin Drood, which Dickens died approximately halfway through writing. So far I have read 4 out of 15 of those books. That is Bleak House, David Copperfield, Great Expectations and Our Mutual Friend. I am of course currently reading very slowly Dombey and Son by Dickens, and I have also read his novella A Christmas Carol, which isn't included in those 15 novels. Dickens is probably maybe the longest term of all these projects, but he is not the author on the list with the most for me to read. The next author is moving forward quite a way into the 20th century, and that is Daphne du Maurier. The first book I read by du Maurier was Rebecca, and there are 17 novels, I believe, by du Maurier to read, of which 17 I have so far read 4. I've read Rebecca, My Cousin Rachel, Jamaica Inn and Frenchman's Creek, and I do have one on my TBR, the slightly less well-known Flight of the Falcon. I have also read by du Maurier 2 short story collections, which I haven't included in her 17 novels. I would like to read any more short story collections of hers as well. I just haven't quite worked out which ones are repeats of each other. What I really love about du Maurier is her way of making settings absolutely come to life. They are like characters in her story. She is so suspenseful in the way she writes, and I've never really read an author who does atmosphere in quite the same way as du Maurier. So I do have quite a bit remaining to try from du Maurier, although I would say I have read her probably 4 most famous novels. Coming forward in time again, and my next 2 authors were both probably overlapping in the time that they were writing. So I've ordered them, I think, by the one who was published first, which is Ray Bradbury. I've only been reading Bradbury since starting on Booktube, and the first book I read by Bradbury was Fahrenheit 451. Where it gets very tricky with Bradbury, and I will have to sit down and work this out a bit more, is that Bradbury wrote probably over 600 short stories, I believe, in his lifetime, and some of these were pieced together as connected short stories in various novels or collections, but others are included in his collections. Some collections, I think, from Bradbury's short stories were published once and then published again with different stories added or changed around under different titles, that sort of thing. So it's going to take a little bit of detective work to track down everything by Bradbury. I have had out of the library before a volume of his short stories that was 100 short stories, I believe, and I think there is a volume 2 of that, also 100 short stories. So there's a lot to work on with Bradbury. I have read some of his short stories individually, i.e. not in a collection. I have read 3 of his books that are considered novels, which are The Martian Chronicles, Fahrenheit 451, and Something Wicked This Way Comes. I've got Dandelion Wine on my TBR, and I've also read a short story collection that was undoubtedly short stories, but they were sort of strung together, which was The Illustrated Man, an excellent short story collection if you're looking out for one. I've also read by Bradbury the recent collection that has been made of all of his crime short stories, which was called Killer Come Back to Me. Bit tricky to say how far I am through that one. I think, according to Wikipedia, when I had a look, there were 51 different short story collections, but that does include massive volumes of like 100 short stories, as well as his individual collections that came out over time. Bradbury may be the most challenging author on this list to get hold of everything he's written, but I'm confident that I will give it a go. I think the thing that I really enjoy about Ray Bradbury is I think that he had a lot of brilliant science fiction ideas. I love all his Mars set things, and I think he had just such great imagination, and a lot of his short stories have absolutely great payoffs. And not only that, but I really love Bradbury's writing. It's so descriptive and beautiful, and he really takes you to a place and time with his writing. Next up, and writing at roughly the same time as Ray Bradbury, we have John Windam, a British science fiction author. And again, I've only read Windam since being on Booktube. I've now read 3 out of 7 of his novels that were published during his lifetime, and that is The Day of the Triffids, The Kraken Wakes, and The Midwich Cuckoos. Windam has a total of 7 novels that were published during his lifetime, also 2 posthumously published novels, and I believe 4 novels were published early on in his lifetime under pseudonyms. I think, having read 3 of these, I'm relatively confident of getting to the rest. What I really like about Windam's writing is, again, suspense, and I really like his premises. I think he has such great ideas for sci-fi concepts, like the concept of the Day of the Triffids, where plants have taken over and most of the world has gone blind. The final author on my list, who is still writing now, so may increase the number of novels for me to read at some point, is Kazuo Ishiguro. Again, a find since I've been on Booktube, and I'm doing quite well with Kazuo Ishiguro because he has 8 novels and 1 short story collection, and I have read 4 out of 8 of the novels. So I've read Clara and the Sun, Never Let Me Go, The Buried Giant, and The Remains of the Day. So I have 4 more novels left from Ishiguro and the short story collection as well. And it's difficult to explain what I really like about Ishiguro, but I think it's his writing style and also his use of themes. I don't think any of the other authors I value as much thematically as I value Kazuo Ishiguro. I love the way his stories tend to draw on memory and how humans deal with memories and forgetting, remembering, and different times. It's just, I find his writing really quite fascinating. Yeah, I mean, these are 5 very different authors from disparate genres, I would say, all of whom have in common that I would really like to read all of their books if I can. The only author not still writing today who I would say I have read all of their work pretty much is Agatha Christie, and As you may or may not know, if you've watched my channel before, I have read all of Agatha Christie's mysteries and thrillers, and all that remains for me with Agatha Christie is to read some of her plays that I haven't read yet. I have one collection of those left before I have to go into like looking for individual play scripts, and I have 2 of her novels written under the pseudonym of Mary Westmacott left to read. I'm very, very low on Agatha Christie books left to read, so I haven't included her in this list because I do consider myself to have broadly read everything Agatha Christie wrote, with like those couple of exceptions that I'm still working on. So those are my 5 authors who come to mind straight away when thinking about authors I want to eventually read all of their work. Do you have any authors that you would like to read everything by them? Do let me know in the comments. I would love to hear who your various must-read authors are. I'm sure there are more within my reading experience who over time I think I would like to read all of their books, and I'm sure over time even more will come along. There are many authors where I want to read more books from their backlist, but I would love to hear what yours are, and if there are any authors who you have already read their entire backlist and everything that they've written. None of the authors I've mentioned today are authors who wrote books in series. I have many, many series that I'm still chipping away at, especially crime or thriller series. And I'm sure there are many authors from those that I will eventually read all of their work or would like to. But I thought I would talk to you today about just these 5. So yeah, I would love to hear more from you, and I'd love to know, are you a completionist with authors? Do you, once you've read an author you really like, do you think, oh, I'd really like to read everything they've written? Or is there a particular author who makes you feel that way? If you have enjoyed this video today, I would love it if you would give it a like, and please do consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. That's all from me today. Thanks for watching, and I hope very much to see you all again soon for another video all about books here on Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Bye for now.